I love Father's Day. I'm a huge, huge fan of dads. I am a dad. I love being a dad. It is one of my favorite roles in life. But before we get started, what I want to do is just explain what a dad is, so we're all on the same page. Number one, if you have children who are living, clearly you're a dad. I would say, secondly, if you've had a child who is not living, perhaps they were born and lived for some years and passed away, or maybe it was a miscarriage. Even then, you were a dad because you created life. And on that note, I need to just take just a moment and say something to you as a family. These moments are not always happy moments, but it happens in the life of our church. Last 2 weeks ago, I got a call from Andrew and Jennifer Bierman, and at 28 weeks, she went in for her to have her pregnancy checked, and they didn't hear a heartbeat. And at 28 weeks, she gave birth to a dead daughter. And last Monday night, we had the funeral of baby Bierman. And they asked me if I would share that with you for this reason. It's tough to come into church and have everyone ask you about your pregnancy, right? And so when they come into church, they've asked me to do this. We're family. This is how we go through these things. So I'm asking you, first of all, to pray for the Biermans, Andrew and Jennifer. 28 weeks, obviously they're excited about having a new baby and what it's going to be like, and now they have to deal with the fact that there is no baby. But we still would consider Andrew a father. He fathered a life. So when they come in, please love them, hug them, encourage them, pray for them. But we wanted to share that with you upon their request so that they don't have to answer the same question, 80 times about how's the pregnancy going. You understand? So I pray that you'll pray for them and encourage them as you see them. So if you have a child, or if you have had a child who is not alive, or I would say that you're a father if, according to the dictionary, if you've acted in a fatherly role, you would be considered a father of sorts. And there are lots of people, maybe even some in this room, who have had men who've stepped into their lives who haven't necessarily been their biological father, who have acted in a fatherly capacity. And so to you, if you've acted in that role, we say to you, Happy Father's Day. You deserve this, and we honor you, we salute you. You are a man worthy of honor. So I love this day. It's a great day. And if you don't know, I am a dad to 6. I always love to take this opportunity to brag. Plus, I think my selfie skills are pretty incredible. I was able to get 8 people in one selfie. So this is my team. Love being a dad. And in fact, I consider it one of the most important roles. It's one of 2 roles in my life in which I'm irreplaceable. And if you're a dad, there's only 2 places in your life in which you're irreplaceable. The first is a husband, and the second is a father. You see, anybody else could stand up here and be a pastor of this church. Anybody else could be. Anybody else could do what you do in your job. They could. Anybody else could do what you do. Anybody else could do those things, but there's only 2 places in which you are absolutely and completely irreplaceable. One is a husband to your wife, and the second is a father to your children. No one can replace you in those capacities. And so I think as we talk about being a father, it's absolutely critical that we realize that what we do here has incredible significance. So I wanted to talk with you dads today, and I wanted to imagine as if we were sitting at Starbucks. These have been a couple good weeks for me. A couple weeks ago, it was all about sitting at Red Bull. So today, let's sit at Starbucks. And I would, if we were to have this conversation, I'd like to tell you what I've been learning lately as a dad. Now, I'll tell you this: I never presume to know everything. But one of the values that I've committed to is consistently learning and growing mentally and spiritually, emotionally. I just want to keep getting better. So I'm reading a lot. I'm talking to dads who are further along in the journey than I am, and I'm consistently trying to push the edge and be a better dad and learn more. And so if you and I were to sit down together today, that's why you have coffee and cookies, and I have some coffee. Now, and we were to talk about being a dad, I would like to tell you about my learning edge, what I'm learning the most right now. All right? So I would imagine it would be fair to say that every dad in this room would like to be a great dad. It's probably fair to assume that no one in this room has ever said, I don't want to be a good dad, I would like to be a bad dad. Right? Probably every one of us in this room, if we had our wish, we would be a good dad, even a great dad. And I would bet that most of us along the way have made decisions, right? We've said, because I want to be a good dad, or because I want to be a great dad, I'm going to start doing this. Or because I'm going to be a good dad, I'm going to stop doing this. Along the way, we've made some decisions that we believe will help us to be better dads. Is that fair? Right? We made those decisions? Okay? Now, let me just give you some, for instances, decisions that maybe as dads you have made, I have made, in an effort to help us be a better dad. So, for instance, maybe one of those decisions was, I'm going to cut back on social media to spend more time with my kids. Right? I mean, think about this. It's the truth. Most parents, a large number of parents, spend more time on social media than they do in meaningful interaction with their children. And what I mean by meaningful interaction is not giving orders, right? I'm talking about meaningful interaction, influential time spent with your children. And so maybe as a dad, you said, I'm not going to spend so much time on social media anymore. I'm going to really dedicate time to investing in my children. Or maybe I'm going to cut back on TV. Not so much Netflix, not so much Redbox. I'm going to cut back on TV, cut back on movies to be able to spend more time with my kids. Or maybe it's this thing. I'm going to start getting home earlier. I'm going to leave for work earlier so I can get home earlier so I can spend more time with my kids. Or maybe you said, look, I got to stop yelling. I'm going to stop yelling at my kids, right? Or maybe you said, I'm going to teach them how to create a budget. Like, that's an important thing. I've made this decision. I'm going to teach my kids how to create a budget, or I'm going to teach them how to shoot a basketball, whatever. You've made some decisions along the way that would help you to be a great dad. But have you heard the story of the three frogs? Yeah? Well, good. Rumor has it that there were three frogs who were sitting on a log, and one of them decided to jump off the log. So the question is, how many were left? Well, the answer is 3. Because there's a difference between deciding to jump off a log and actually jumping off a log. I like to think of it like this. Deciding is nothing until you do something. I mean, listen, let's just be honest, dads. We've probably all, in a moment of honesty here, we've all made decisions about things that we're going to do. We're going to start, we're going to stop, attitudes that we're going to embrace, things that we're going to adjust in our life. We've all made decisions, but if you were to look at our life about a month later, nothing had really changed significantly. See, a decision is nothing until you do something. So let's just talk about doing something for just a minute. Sometimes, and we're probably all guilty of this, we think that doing a big thing every once in a while makes us a good dad or a great dad. It's the big gift or the over-the-top vacation or giving in and finally saying yes to that thing that your child has been asking for and asking for and asking for. Like, if I do the big thing, maybe that'll make up for all the little things in which I haven't been there. If I do the big thing, maybe that'll make up for all the little things that I've missed or not paid attention to. But I would just say that might be a mistake. See, I'm reading a book right now. Actually, it's the second time around because I didn't get it on the first time. It's called The 5 Love Languages of Children. I would encourage you strongly to get this book. If you're a parent, pick this book up and read it. It's by Gary Chapman and Ross Campbell. Amazing read. And they have this quote in there that I just need to share with you. I took a picture of it the other day and posted it on Instagram and all that good stuff. But let me just read it to you. This is what they say about giving, trying to replace the little gifts with the big gifts. They say, be careful. It's often tempting to shower children with gifts as substitutes for the other love languages. For many reasons, parents sometimes resort to presents rather than truly being present to their children. For some who grew up in dysfunctional families, a gift seems easier to give than emotional involvement. Others may not have the time, the patience, or knowledge to know how to give their children what they genuinely need. They truly love their children, but seem unaware of how to provide the emotional security and sense of self-worth that they need. In our rushed and affluent society, with fathers often away from home most of the children's waking hours, and with more than half of the mothers working outside the home, there's a tremendous amount of guilt about not spending enough time with the family. As a substitute, this is huge, as a substitute for their personal involvement with their children, many parents go overboard in buying gifts. Such parents are trying to use gift giving as a cure-all for their out-of-control lifestyle. They go on to say that trying to replace your presence with presents creates children who are in a bad way, unhealthy. And what I'm learning right now as a dad, because I've had a tendency to do this, is that it's not the occasional big things alone that are going to make me a great dad. It's not the big things by themselves. Here's what I'm learning. It's the little things done consistently over an extended period of time that produce the biggest results. The little things over an extended period of time that produce the biggest results. Now think about this. This is absolutely true in life in general. It's true with money, right? I mean, we don't wake up one day and say, I'm going to be independently wealthy. And the next day, boom, you're independently wealthy. We don't wake up one day and say, I'm just going to be debt-free, and we're debt-free the next day. It doesn't work like that. It's the little things, day after day after day of doing the little things consistently and right that ultimately lead to huge and significant change. It works that way physically. Like, you just don't wake up one day and say, I'm going to lose 30 pounds, right? And the next day you wake up. No, it means you change your diet, you change your exercise habits. It is little by little by little by little, and one day you wake up and you realize, I've been transformed, not because of some big thing that happened, but because of a bunch of little things that happen consistently over an extended period of time. Happens that way in relationships. If your marriage is in a crazy place, you don't wake up one day and say, I'm going to have a great marriage tomorrow, and it's like that. No, it's consistently doing the little right things over an extended period of time that produces the biggest results. Biggest change. You see, I've realized this, and you probably know this too, that a decision by itself doesn't change anything. I mean, I've made a ton of decisions, and you may have too. I've made a ton of decisions, but a decision by itself doesn't change anything. And neither does showing up big every once in a while. Like, so for instance, I see this a lot, and you probably, like at the beginning of every year, like New Year's resolutions, gyms are packed, and by March, they're empty. So, like, I know people that'll do this. Like, I'm gonna get in shape. They'll go out and buy brand new gym clothes, brand new sneakers. 3 years later, they have a closet full with nice sneakers that haven't been used, because showing up big every once in a while doesn't really change much. What makes the biggest change in life is little things done consistently over an extended period of time. Now, if we're sitting together, we're talking about being dads, being good dads. This is what I would say to you. In my effort to be a good dad, here's what I'm learning. That the important stuff requires daily attention. The important things in my life, one of the highest and most important things in my life, being my children, require daily attention. And it works like this, physically, financially, spiritually, in a relationship. The biggest change does not come from making a decision. The biggest change does not come from some big thing that you do. You walk into a gym, or you walk into a bank, or you give your wife a dozen roses. Good for you, but that one act isn't going to change things completely. What's going to change things is the small things done consistently over an extended period of time, paying attention to that stuff on a daily basis. So there's a verse that's been tattooed on my heart for about the last year. St. Paul was talking about his ministry and how he paid attention to details as a leader and as a pastor. And God has taken this verse and just kind of implanted it in my heart, because my default is to not pay attention to the details, to not pay attention to the little things, to miss the little things. And God has taken this verse and just working it into my heart, and I hope that you can get a sense of how important this is. I mean, it's transforming my life as a father. It's transforming my home. I'm going to tell you about that in a little bit. But here's how Eugene Peterson, in his version of the scriptures called The Message, here's how he translated 2 Corinthians 6:4. He says, this is St. Paul talking, our work as God's servants gets validated or not, say it with me, in the details. In the details. Paul said basically, like, my work as a pastor, my work as a spiritual leader gets validated or not in the details. I mean, really, the truth is, like, you can tell everything you need to know about me, not by the big stuff, not by the stuff I say, but how I handle the details. Now, here's the thing. As a parent, the details can be boring. Now, there's no kids in here. Can I get a witness? They can be time-consuming. Like, taking time every day to pay attention to the details will cut into your personal time. And I've struggled with that. I'm tired. I'm a full-time pastor. I have a part-time position as a personal trainer. I have 6 kids. I have a wife. I have a house that needs cared for. I have a lawn that needs mowed. I mean, it's just stuff. It's just stuff, right? It's all busy, tired. And sometimes I just want me time. Can I get a witness? I mean, I just want to binge on Netflix. Can I get a witness? I just want time to mindlessly piddle. I want to look at what you're doing on Facebook, even though I don't care that much, like what you ate for supper last. Sometimes I just want to look mindlessly. And then I read this from Tim Keller, who wrote the book Reason for God. Look at what he said. He said, consider parenting. Children come into the world in a condition of complete dependence. They cannot operate as self-sufficient, independent agents unless their parents give up much of their own independence and freedom. Holy crap. What's he say? For years. If you don't allow your children to hinder your freedom in work and play at all, and if you only get to your children when it doesn't inconvenience you, your children will grow up physically only. In all sorts of other ways, they will remain emotionally needy, troubled, and overdependent. The choice is clear. You can either sacrifice your freedom or theirs. It's them or you. To love your children well, you must decrease that they may increase. You must be willing to enter into the dependency they have so eventually they can experience the freedom and the independence that you have. I read that and I'm rocked. Because I want my kids to grow up to be emotionally healthy. I want them to be spiritually strong. I want them to be physically strong. I want them to be relationally alert. And what I'm realizing is that if that's going to happen, I have to pay attention to the details every day. It requires that I as a dad deny myself so that I can engage in their lives. A world of princesses, a world of makeup, a world of perfumes and guinea pigs. By the way, let me tell you a hilarious story. Do not ask me who, because I will never tell you. It was very, very hot out this past week, right? Like 100 a couple days. And one of those days when it was triple digits, one of our girls had her guinea pig outside for an extended period of time. And we realized, like, it's pretty hot out there. So Sherry said to her, you should probably bring your guinea pig inside because it's pretty hot out. So about 5 minutes later, one of our other daughters ran out and said to Sherry, Mom, the guinea pig's in the freezer. Which makes total sense. If you have a really hot guinea pig and you want to cool it off, you would put it in the freezer, right? But to a parent, so we got the guinea pig out. The guinea pig's okay. But that's like taking a trip from South Carolina to New York, right? It's just like, it's crazy. But anyways. But you know, paying attention to the details every day means being submerged in a world in which you're surrounded by things that aren't even that fun for you, that you don't even care tremendously about. But they do. And that's the point. So remember, it's the important stuff requires daily attention. And I'm realizing as a dad, when I pay daily attention to the important things in my home, the atmosphere of my home changes 100%. I'm on a personal experiment right now. I'm about 6 weeks into this thing. And I'm going to share with you some of the things that I'm doing. And I'm telling you, our home has gone from at night when the kids would go to bed, there would be crying sometimes, there would be arguing sometimes. And in the last 6 weeks since I've been doing some of these things and paying attention to the details, Sherry and I were talking yesterday on our trip back to South Carolina from Kentucky. We're talking about how much our home has changed in 6 weeks. And the only difference is Dad has been paying attention to the details. Listen, and this is not a high five for me. It's an about time for me. It's just something that I'm learning that I should have learned a long time ago. And I'm hoping to just pass it on. And maybe some of us, all of us dads, can just begin to realize like the incredible importance of paying attention to the details every day. So let me just tell you some things that I'm paying attention to every day that are making a difference in my home. The first is just really simple. It's just my connection to God. I mean, I know this, and you probably do too, that when I take time for God, He addresses attitudes. He gives wisdom. And He helps me navigate the ever-changing waters of parenting. I realize this is about kids. Like, just about the time I get them figured out, they have a birthday. And you got to start all over. And the cool thing is, like, you would think, well, you've got six girls. So it's the same for everyone. Not a chance in the world. They're all absolutely different, and your kids are too. They're like, you've got to figure this thing out 6 different times. 18 different times, 18 years for 6 different times. I mean, the math on that's just insane. But what I'm realizing is that my connection to God, if I allow him to speak wisdom into my life, if I allow him to dress attitudes, if I allow him to speak through and into me, it makes a difference in my home. I would just encourage you as a dad to take some time every single day to let God speak into your life. Maybe you just pull out your phone and you have a Bible app on your phone. There's an app called YouVersion that you can get on your phone. And just let God speak to you every day. All right? There's all kinds of resources out there. Give God space in your life to speak to you, Dad, because at the end of the day, you are the primary shaper of spiritual things in your home. Your kids, especially your boys, are going to look at you and to make decisions about God based on what they see you and how they see you interacting with him. My connection to God has been a primary shaper in our home, and when I pay attention to it and nurture that relationship, it shows up in our home. The second thing I'm paying attention to is physical health. Like, dads, I'll just say to you, you know this, like when you're tired, you're not a good dad. Right? Maybe I should ask your wives. I'm going to do that. But when we're tired, we don't want to play. I mean, listen, I know this. Like, when I'm tired, here's what I want to do. Let's play doctor, and I'll be the patient, and I lay down and go to sleep, and you work on me. Or let's play masseuse, and I'll lay down, and you can rub my feet. That's a good game. Some of you are like, I just got some ideas. That's good. What I realize is that by paying attention to my health, the way I eat, how much rest I get, physical exercise, when I pay attention to those things, it keeps me alert. And when I'm alert, I'm more engaged. And when I'm more engaged, I'm a better dad. That's ultimately the goal. I would encourage you, every dad in here, to pay attention to those things so you can be alert and engaged when you're with your kids. And the third thing I'm paying attention to right now is my wife. Because I realize this, when Sherry and I are good, our home is good. And the kind of a man that you are, gentlemen, will be the kind of a man your son will be. He will treat his wife the way that you treat your wife, very likely. And if you have daughters, it's very likely that they'll end up looking for a man that will treat them the way you treat your wife. It's a big deal. I realize that my attention to God, my attention to my physical health, my attention to my bride, these things are critical in shaping an environment in our home. So I'm paying attention to those. But what I want to get even more really practical and give you just 5 daily actions and again, all this is flowing out of this verse from 2 Corinthians 6:4. Our ministry for God is validated or not by the details. Like that verse is driving me. Like, the details matter. The important stuff requires daily attention. So these are just some things that are working for me. You can take them. You can leave them. I'm just telling you, in the last 6 weeks of my home, it has changed the dynamic of our evenings, of our bedtimes, and of the interactions of the siblings with one another. Just dad showing up and paying attention. 5 ways that I've been paying attention to the important stuff. Number 1, learn and speak your child's love language. Again, I would just encourage you to pick up this book because children express love in different ways. I have one girl, every night, she's like, Dad, let's wrestle. And that's her, like, she just, physical touch. Like, she's just all about, like, touch, let's wrestle. So I've taught her the straight arm bar and the rear naked choke and all this stuff, right? And she likes that. Dad loves me. He got me in a straight arm bar, right? It's her love language. Another child, though, however, wants just to be heard. She doesn't want to wrestle. I've tried wrestling her, and she doesn't want to wrestle. She just wants to be heard. Completely different ways of giving and receiving love. As a father, it's so critical that I understand how my child gives and receives loves. Otherwise, what's going to happen is my girl who wants to just be heard, I'm going to tackle her, and she's not going to appreciate that. Or my daughter that wants to wrestle, I'm just going to say, no, just sit there and talk. Daddy just wants to listen. And that's not going to be helpful for her either. I would encourage you, if you're a father, if you say, I don't read, start. Or get it on audiobook or something. Read this. Figure out how your child gives and receives love. It will be a tremendous gift to your child. But you know what the crazy thing is? It'll be a tremendous gift to your home as well. So the first thing I'm working on is learning and speaking my children's love language. And honestly, I wish that they made a program like Rosetta Stone for this kind of thing, because it can be very difficult, but it's critically important. A second one that I would encourage you, that's working in my home, is this. Take weekly dates. I talk about this frequently with you guys, but it doesn't have to be expensive. Our budget is $1 and an hour. $1 and an hour. So here's oftentimes what we'll do. We'll go to Wendy's and get a Frosty and play memory, or Wendy's or go to Wendy's and get a Frosty and take selfies. And I mean, I'm learning how to do like the duck lips and all the poses and all that stuff. And I don't care about it. I don't want to do it, but they love it. And so I'm getting into it, right? Never going to post it, but you know, it's important because you know what I realize is, like, when I miss those dates, my kids are like, Dad, we didn't go on a date. It's a big deal. I would just encourage you to make that a part of, it's a daily thing. It's the important stuff that requires daily attention. Date your kids. Something that we started in the last 6 weeks that's been huge for us is a nightly quick chat. And this basically comes from the idea in Deuteronomy chapter 6, where Moses is teaching the people of Israel, and he says, teach your children about the things of God, and do it when you sit at the table, when you walk on the road, and when you lie down. So every night before they go to bed, I'm going up and laying down in their bed and just chatting for like 3 to 5 minutes. So it's not a lot of time. I mean, I've got 6 kids, so that's about a 30 to 40 minute commitment there. But I can't believe the difference in our home. I can't believe I never knew that it would happen. But it's such a big deal when Dad goes up and crawls in their bed and just chats, right? And sometimes we talk about the events of the day. Sometimes we just talk about, I mean, or we just talk about stuff. You know, it's just crazy. But the dynamic of our home has absolutely changed in 6 weeks, absolutely changed. And I watch my kids, the arguing is less. I watch the interactions, and the only thing that's changed is paying attention to these details. I would encourage you as a father also to do this. Tell them about them in a journal. I got this idea from a guy named Mark Batterson. He wrote a book called Praying Circles Around Your Kids. And in there he said, as a parent, you are your child's historian and their prophet. In other words, you know more about your kids than they do. You know more about their early days than they'll ever know. You are their historian, and you are their prophet. You are speaking into their lives and helping to shape their future. And so I've actually begun this discipline a couple years ago, and have recently really resumed it with passion. And it's simply just writing down at the end of the day some things I saw in them, some character traits. And I have 6 kids. If I have 6 and can do it, you could do it with 3, right? Or 4, right? And you say, I only have 2. Well, God bless you. May you have 3, right? Or 4, right? I'm just kidding. But sitting down and just writing, I saw you do this today, and I like this about you. I notice in you a spirit of generosity. It's amazing, good for you. And sometimes it doesn't even have to do that. Maybe it's just like, hey, today, we took a road trip, and you slept most of the way, period. Just paying. And you know what I found in my own life is as I pay attention to those details, all of a sudden I become more and increasingly aware of each child. Significant. And finally, I would just say to you this. Have them read every day. I mean, perhaps it's spending some time in the scriptures. Maybe it's a devotional that they get from next door. But have them read. Because you know what? Like, I've been watching like television shows and listening to music and watching YouTube channels that kids watch. And like half this is just asinine, the stuff that they're watching. Right? I mean, have you watched it? Do you listen to music? It's just stupid. And I want my kids to have some input, some insights that are actually healthy, that are wise, that are scripturally based. And what I realize is that on their own, they're probably not going to go that direction, but if I give them time every day to read or to get some kind of insight that's healthy and thought-provoking, they'll actually go ahead and take advantage. I would just encourage you as a parent. It's a little thing, but little things done consistently over an extended period of time create great homes and create great kids. I would encourage you to do that. Now, let's wrap up. And I hope I haven't come off as like I've got it all figured out. I hope I haven't, because that's not what I'm saying at all, because I'm just confident. Just as soon as I begin to think that, one of my kids will go out and act like a knucklehead in the foyer. They'll be like, yeah, okay, all right. I'm just telling you, these are some of the things that are working in my life, in my home as a father. And it all flows out of this idea from 2 Corinthians 6:4. Pay attention to the details. The important stuff in your life requires daily attention. Now, on Friday, we were driving to Kentucky for a conference in which I had to participate. And on the way there, we saw something that I absolutely had to show you. So I made Sherry slow down, and then she had to speed up and slow down. I took 1,000,000 pictures till I got it right, all right? And this is what we saw. Can you see this? You can't? You see that little truck right there? You guys can't see it? Turn off those lights. Do something, man. We got to see this picture. You see it? So this is my truck, all right? Here's a big truck, and this is a trailer on which a huge tractors are carried. And there's a tiny little Tonka dump truck. And we got up beside it, and they had actually strapped that dump truck down with one of those big straps. And I looked at that, and I said, and we pulled up beside the truck, and we slowed down to get a picture and sped up, all kinds of angles. This guy probably was like ready to clobber us or something. But as I looked at that, and I was like, some dad took the time to slow down and strap that little, a lot of attention went into strapping that truck on there. He paid attention to the detail. And you know there's a little man riding along in that truck that's fired up, that knows that dad loves him, that's dreaming big because dad paid attention to the details. That may not be anything to the dad, but I promise you to that little man, that's a huge deal. And all I would say to you as a dad is that what might be a little thing to you is a huge thing to your child. And so if we were to sit down again over coffee, I would simply say to you, pay attention to the little things. Pay attention to the details. Because remember this, every big thing is made up of a bunch of little things. A house is made up of a lot of little bricks and little nails. $1,000,000 is made up of a lot of little pennies. A car is made up of a lot of little parts. A computer is made up of a ton of little tiny pieces. A fishing pole is made up of little bits and pieces. There are no big things without the little things. And so I would just say, Dad, pay attention to the little things because that's what's going to make the biggest changes in your home. Remember this, the important stuff requires daily attention. So what I wanted to do today is I just wanted to pray together for all of us dads that God will help us as men to pay attention to the details in our homes for our wives and our children so that ultimately we'll create great kids who dream big things and are enabled and empowered by us as their fathers to go out and actually do the things that they believe God has called them and created them to do. Can we pray together, men? Let's stand together and we'll pray. Father, you are the perfect Father. You pay attention to the details in our lives. You don't let things go unnoticed. You slap us high fives when we need them. You confront us when we need it. You put an arm around us when we need it. You notice the things that make us sing. You notice the things that make us cry. You know what makes us ticked. You know what makes us fired up and passionate. You know these things about us, God, because you pay attention to the details. And I would pray, Father, that for me as a dad and for us as dads, that you would remind us, Lord, that the big things are made of a bunch of little things. You remind us, God, that the important stuff requires daily attention and that our kids are some of the most important things in the world. And they're absolutely going to require daily attention. Paying daily attention to the little things will ultimately result, Lord, in a great home, in kids who are wise and loving and courageous and lovers of God and helpers of one another. Father, forgive us for being busy at the sacrifice of our children. Forgive me for being selfish and choosing me over my children. God, I pray that you will empower us, Lord, for the next years, however long it takes, to say no to ourselves more and yes to the little things in our homes more so that we can create kids and raise up kids who are strong. This is our prayer, Father. I thank you for every husband, for every dad in this room. We pray your blessing on them today. Lord, now as we enjoy pork barbecue that Mike Dela Cruz has made, and we enjoy all the sides that the ladies of our church have made, God, I pray that you'll bless them and bless this food to our bodies. In Jesus' awesome name we pray these things. Amen. Happy Father's Day, men. God bless you. So here's what we're going to do. If you're going to